Welcome to Reinventing Broadcast, where AI meets content. Hosted by Ben Anchor. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show, the Broadcast Media Inside Track. This week is a bit of a bonus. We've got two guests on the show. We've been inviting Amira Labs onto the show today, fronted by Kyle. Do you want to explain a bit about yourself and the company?
Sure. Thanks for inviting us, Ben. Nice to be here. Appreciate that. Great to see you again. So I'm Kyle Seuss, one of the co-founders of Amira Labs. We focus on broadcast media software specifically designed around AI agents for essentially different aspects of the media supply chain for large broadcasters. That's a quick preview.
Awesome. And is it co-founder Stefan on the
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
show?
I'm Stefan Cardenas. I'm the other co-founder of Amira Labs.
And are you the architect, technical brains behind the whole scene?
Yeah, I do a lot of the engineering.
Okay, good stuff. Well, it's great. We've got some of the technical crowd on the call today. I mean, I'm always interested on how AI is impacting the media scene. Who wants to take that up first?
I guess I could take that first. So Um, it's definitely a large change. It's something where it can't just be like a top-down change, but it's got to be from sort of both directions. I know there's all this talk about executives are promoting AI, thinking about the benefits it's going to bring in terms of like cost savings, efficiency, all that stuff, which is true. But I think integrating it with current workflows is a piece that a lot of times it's a gap that exists and it's still persistent across many AI deployments in organizations, both large and small. So that's something we've been tackling head on for a number of customers, really understanding how to make AI operationally effective and go beyond just the hype and the buzz around it to actually deliver meaningful results out of it. I mean, there was like a study from MIT that came out a few months ago that a ton of people were talking about, where it's like 95% of all these new AI deployments sort of fail. And I think that's because partially there's not really a mindset around like, here's how we have to really enhance our current workflows, deliver these results we're after, deliver these performance gains. There's sort of that experimentation mindset of like, let's just understand the technology first. This is all new to everyone for the most part. So having someone to really guide organizations through that is really quite an effective means. And that's what we've been leading as well at Amira Labs.
Yeah.
So as we're developing our software and integrating it, it's all focused around how to really augment the current workflows, the current workforce, and not just say, let's just break everything apart and then like reconstruct something new, because a lot of times that's just not really effective. So
Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
to
Yeah, Stefan,
and,
like, what's your take on that?
and to add to that, like part of the reason why 95% of all AI endeavors fail is that the data isn't actually there or isn't accessible. So in order for AI to actually accomplish something, you really have to have access to the company's data or to the data of a particular workflow. And right now that doesn't exist. So if you think about the way like broadcasters like stream video or audio, there's very little data attached to that right now that an AI agent could actually like plug into and do something with. So that's another huge task that I think the industry is dealing with right now and trying to figure out as they're trying to adapt AI.
Yeah, because like, if they don't have the data, is it even worth doing an AI project, basically? And I'm curious to know, so if you go in trying to architect something, is there any like operational sort of input to that? Do you get people from the operational departments, they're present in the sort of design or the vision that these companies might have?
yeah, you want to talk about that, Stefan? You have some.
Yes. So I mean, it goes like throughout the entire hierarchy of the company because a lot of the time it's like sort of the engineers who are actually out on the field interacting with, hardware and actually like filming or editing or doing things that actually have to use the AI the most. But you have to be able to convince everybody at the company that this is actually one, feasible, and two, that it's actually worth the money. So you really have to keep on almost like the entire stack of people that work in the company.
Yeah, it's like a top-down thing, right? From the C-suite, like all the way down.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is and so like what have you recently done, Kyle, in this space to not only like just roll out a technical implementation, but involve the operational folks as well? Any recent examples there?
Yeah, a recent example is that for a top three major broadcaster in the US, as they're centralizing all their master control facilities into one location, really bringing in these shared services together. We've been working heavily with the engineers, the operators, the technical staff on deploying a system that automatically identifies languages for all different audio tracks going out for international distribution. So this is what we call language sense.
Yeah.
um, this product is designed both for broadcasters and also for scale, which is quite key. And it's also using all local on-prem models. So it's not just making like API calls to ChatGPT or something like that.
Yeah.
It's something we've specially architected for broadcasters given their constraints and their needs. So with this product now, this organization is able to automate a task from taking their phone and holding it up to a screen and saying like, hey, like what language is this, and it takes 30 seconds to a minute to check per track. And when you think about doing this at 1,000 plus tracks, there's
Yeah.
like an entire day right there someone could spend just to check a few. And it's also very error prone because in the current state prior to our solution, you're sort of reacting to errors after they occur. There's not really that proactive monitoring by exception workflow that could be implemented, which is the value that we added to this particular instance. So now within 2 to 3 minutes, like hundreds of these tracks are able to be checked and analyzed. And then if there's any errors, those alarms, those notifications are brought up so that people don't have to check things that aren't problematic, waste their time on that. It's really about saying,
Yeah.
hey, let's deliver this proactive monitoring by exception sort of end goal that you're after. And then here's the tools to provide you with these notifications and alarms. And then, future state on top of that is really let's bring in more agentic sort of fixes on the fly that could be approved, denied by these operators, by these engineers, so that it's making their lives easier and saving them a lot of time. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking recently, like, where in broadcast media is AI being developed? That's not, just LLM wrappers, basically. Stefan, are you seeing anything that's really like exciting you in the industry? That's not basically LLM wrappers.
Not basically an LLM wrapper.
Proper data science or something like that.
I think the people who are building models for small models for very specific tasks are probably going to get ahead at first. So for specific tasks like language identification or specific tasks for like looking at an image and detecting if it's not what a human is. So like being able to see like macro blocking or something unexpected that typically a human would have to watch or listen to intently are probably going to make the biggest differences. Those are currently what you would think is a small problem, but for a broadcaster, it's a huge problem because they deal with those problems at scale. So
Yeah.
those are the pain points the industry's feeling right now. It's these smaller things, but that to them are um, problems of scale.
Yeah. And it's like let the AI sort of eat through it, basically. Let's get productivity up for these teams, basically. That's where we're seeing the biggest gains and the biggest selling point, I guess, isn't it, Carl?
yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So sorry, because I think the LLM would come into play later down the pipeline. It, like being able to like do something with the files that have like the macro blocking or the color banding or something like that, right? But the LLM can't really target that, at the micro level, at the beginning stage, at generating that metadata.
Anything to add, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say all that's right. Really, outside a lot of the foundation models, like seeing a lot of these particular implementations designed for broadcasters, it's kind of few and far between, to be honest, right now. I mean, you don't see that many. I think perhaps there's both a lack of knowledge and a lack of particular focus on the M&E industry in particular. I mean, M&E, it's such a large, broad, expansive, sector. It includes so much. Like there's gaming involved, there's user generated content, social media acquisition, distribution. If we just think about even like for the broadcast world, like a lot of times they don't really have many other choices than to just pluck something that sort of exists, like one of these foundation models, but it's not really something that's solving a problem. It's like a nice to have. It's not really that substantive like pill that's going to cure the underlying issues, which I think is quite key. So really bringing a broadcast focus to AI development and adoption for the industry is really, really important. So being able to provide like guidance, really like usher people through the process end to end, at different levels of the organization too, is quite key. So really understanding from people working in the weeds at the operator engineer level, like how are you doing your jobs today? Where do you need assistance? And then looking at the top level of the organization, like from a vision perspective, like 40,000-mile view, like where are you trying to head? How are you trying to change course? What are you trying to do differently? What new markets are you trying to expand into? So all of that really needs to be like holistically considered in providing these AI solutions, which is something like it's an approach we've very much like tried to, tell people about and lead ourselves, to really encourage that adoption and just mindset change in the industry as well. So
Yeah, because I'm thinking, is it the risk appetite and the size of the broadcaster? I mean, if we get in maybe some small players in there, they're probably a bit more it's a bit more palatable for them. But the behemoths of the industry perhaps are a bit more slow to change with the culture, perhaps, right?
yeah, for sure. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And you were mentioning there about, change management. How important is like human in the loop for you guys then?
I think human in the loop is still very important for everybody, not just in broadcasting, because nobody really feels safe sort of letting AI run on its own. And that's natural because even like if you were to ask, ChatGPT or Meta AI question right now, sometimes it gets it wrong, even on basic things. So imagine trying to like have an AI help you broadcast the Super Bowl or something, right? And the AI gets it
Yeah.
wrong. That's a huge, it's a huge problem for the broadcaster.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was probably going to move on to agents. So everybody's been talking about 2025 is the year of the agents. Are you guys like designing these things, or have you rolled any out so far?
Yeah. You wanna talk about some of the latest and greatest engineering stuff?
Let's get Stefan's engineering mindset on this one, eh?
Yeah. So I think it's definitely the year where you're going to start hearing a lot of talk about agents, but I think it's going to be a while before like you actually see agents out in the field and actually working in production and operating by themselves, right? As we were talking earlier. I think especially at a lot of these larger companies who are dealing with like media at scale, it's going to be a while. They actually have like the AI implementations to just generate the metadata that the agents could then operate on. But I do think like before 2030, you are going to start to see these just operate like efficiently. You're going to start seeing agents out in the field. Well, you're not going to see them you as the consumer, right? It's just going to be operating in the background. But yeah,
And so, are you doing like research and development on this? Is there any like product innovation you're working on, Stefan?
yeah, a lot of research, and we're experimenting with a lot of the open right now, particularly the thinking models. So the thinking models are going to be really the ones that allow you to like interact with your metadata and make those decisions for you. So like for example, if you have an agent that's like, checking audio quality for like 500 streams or something, the thinking agent would be the one who would be able to say, oh, look, channel 45 has the wrong audio for this reason and that reason and this reason. and then it could suggest solutions to the broadcaster right away, right? So the broadcaster wouldn't have to go in there manually, like listen to each channel one by one, and then try and figure out what the problem is, and then try and figure out the solution. The agent would spit it out in one shot and tell you, hey, channel 45, it's wrong because of XYZ. Try ABC to solve it.
Yeah, yeah. And what sort of tool set are you using? I heard like the OpenAI SDK is pretty good, but there's other stuff out there, right?
We're primarily using open source models that can be run on-prem.
Oh, cool.
Most Yeah, most broadcasters don't want to have to use a third-party API, and everyone's looking into building like their own small little data center on site.
Yeah. And so are you involved in like SLM, the sort of small language model concept?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to be a growing area, right?
Yeah, it's definitely going to grow. Sort of like start with at least accomplishing, the tasks first, and then start to build out into the workflow. Like as Stefan was saying, it's like if you try to just do too much at once, like you're probably going to face a lot of complications. It's sort of like you're biting off more than you could chew. Like if you start with at least like, let's focus on the tasks, the particular use cases involved in broadcast engineering, then as that pipeline starts to be built out, essentially a whole platform gets created, which fits with our vision of sense, which is our platform to essentially hear, see, understand media the way a human would via these AI agents. That would be pretty groundbreaking for the industry, because at least in today's world, like so much is done manually. Like we still have people flipping through channels to listen and watch them and check for errors with their eyes. Of course, like how could someone do that day in, day out at the
Yeah.
scale needed, and an increasing scale that just keeps getting bigger and bigger year over year? I mean, like I can't even look at my phone and then watch a Netflix show and then be able to tell you like what was happening. Like I have
Yeah.
no idea how someone in the broadcast world is going to be able to do that while having like 10 screens around them and
Yeah.
needing to like listen, watch everything, check for moderation, check for all these other issues, troubleshoot network LODs. Like it's just almost impossible at the end of the day. So,
Yeah, because I was thinking, what Sam Altman said recently is, was it meaningful work to begin with? So if we can give them the tools to free their time up just for the exceptions or more about storytelling or the macro level stuff that they can't do because they're snowed under with this, not really meaningful work. I think that's going to be, key going forwards. And another thing I love to ask the guests is the use cases around the industry. So we mentioned about the appetite for risk and, the size of the broadcaster. But I'm seeing maybe sort of languaging, subtitling, compliance areas, metadata. I guess Kyle, what's your favorite use case at the moment?
yeah, my favorite use case. I would say at a broader sense, like more like content understanding is sort of my favorite thing. And within that larger content understanding piece, standards and practices has been quite interesting to explore. So like um, even something basic like subtitles, captioning, like that's how we sort of first started. And then you sort of see just dealing with that one audio use case, like how complex it could really get to achieve that highest accuracy needed with AI. Like understanding the language is one part, knowing what's spoken, being able to translate it, like these are all key pieces. And then you start to bring in other pieces to the mix, like computer vision, actual recognition based on what's going on in a frame, to then tie all that information together. Because in order to solve these data problems that are present at scale, like having really good metadata underlying it is going to be quite critical to have these decisioning engines really take effective next steps. And getting to that point is actually just a ton of work. It's like how
Yeah,
that saying of like, getting to 80% takes this much time, getting to 90% is, incrementally more, but that 90 to like 99, 100, it almost covers that entire span before. So
Yeah,
getting to that end state is something that's a continual work in progress, but it's super interesting.
yeah.
So
And it's all like tied to content discovery as well, right? And
yeah.
Stefan, you must have a good one. What's yours?
Yeah, mine is probably sourcing data and sort of syncing it together so AI can work with it, right? Because if you think at like any corporation, right, they have maybe a piece of data in like this platform, a piece of data in platform B, and then something in platform C. And then the AI agent has to sort of be able to access all that, put it all together, and decide what to do, like what the problem is and what the solution should be, right? And I think that's something that probably people aren't really doing right now, but it's definitely a requirement going forward.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Very important going forwards. Well, Kyle and Stefan, it's been great having you on the show. So I wish Amira Labs all the best for the future and I hope you're back on the show sometime in the future.
Thanks, Ben.
Perfect.
Really
Appreciate it.
appreciated it.
Thanks for listening to Reinventing Broadcast. Subscribe for more on AI content and the future of media. And visit ancast.tv for more info on Ben himself, the resources, other content, and news.